Hey everybody, welcome to another GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer 40,000 Codex Imperial Agents, which was kindly sent as a complimentary review copy by Games Workshop, and features new rules for everybody's favorite secret police of the Imperium, the Inquisition, and their three different arms. Also the name of three different Dan Abnett novels. We got Xenos, Malleus, and Hereticus, or Hereticus, as we pronounce it in Canada. This is a pretty cool book. I actually am really excited about this one because, well, it's it's more story than cool killer shit. It's not trying to sell you big bang bang murder things. It's all about cool models and the story of how you would play those cool models. It features three different types. Well, I guess four different types. 5 different types of army, as well as rules for using these miniatures and forces, Agency of the Imperium, in your other Imperium armies. Like on top of that, it's got a new comp patrol in here for like a mixed sort of like inquisitorial force, and just brings a bunch of things that were released through Kill Team expansion boxes into the 40k universe in kind of like a more meaningful way, I guess, than has really been done in the past, where their data sets would come out as like free downloads on Warhammer Community. And they didn't really fit anywhere. They had to, like, every time they'd release one, they had to be like, and if your army includes blah, then you can have blah. Or if your army is this keyword, you can take that keyword, yada, yada, yada. It didn't really feel cohesive. They did release a sort of like version of this in one of the late 9th edition campaign books. Prioness, one of them. One of the not psych. What was it? A Psychic Awakening one? Am I thinking an 8th? Anyway, there's like a version of this that came out in a late edition campaign book. That they've added more miniatures since then. So this kind of like brings that up to speed as they parse out something like I guess. The Xenos kind of have the oldest range because they incorporate all the Death Watch stuff that's like not Primaris. But the Subductor Squad, which was and the Exaction Squad and the Vigilant Squad, which is the Space Cops, the Oedipus Arbites. In Canada, we say Arbites. We don't say Arbites. It's like saying custodes instead of custodes. It's Arbites. It's all made up shit. You can pronounce it however you want. I'm not going to tell you to pronounce it, but people will tell you it's Arbites. And if you're going with the Greek phonetic, anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Latin phonetic. The Inquisitorial Agents, which miniatures came out again for Kill Team, and the Imperial Navy Breachers, which came out for the Void Action Kill Team stuff. And you'll see some stuff about boarding actions coming out today too. Inquisitor Draxus and Greyfox are in here. The Ministorium Priest that was available originally in Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, as well as the Navigator miniature. Get rules. And then we got a resculpt of Inquisitor Codias. The Inquisitor miniature, though, does not... I think it's the only thing in here that's not plastic now, which I find really funny because the old Inquisitor Codias miniature could still be available if they just did their whatever resin Siocast thing they're doing now. But they resculpted him. They gave him hair, and they made him boring. And I'm not alone in that opinion. He's not bad. Like, there's nothing bad about him. The problem was that his previous miniature was iconic. And if you're going to resculpt an iconic miniature, it needs to be iconic. The original, I think it's Juan Diaz, sculpted the Demon Hunters, Inquisitor Codias. He's on the cover of the book, right? He's this guy. This was the Demon Hunters book for late 3rd, early 4th edition 40k. And he is like an iconic 40k miniature. Like, it's hard to really explain what that means for people who've been playing 40k for a certain amount of time, but there are certain sculpts that like you look and you go like, oh, that's what 40k is to me. And generationally they kind of come along. Like if you look at like 2nd edition 40k, a lot of people would reference a lot of the Jez Goodwin miniatures, like the Jez Goodwin Farseers, the Jez Goodwin Space Marine captains, like the character captains too, like things like Azrael or Marnius Calgar or Ragnar Blackmane. And then later on, like Logan Grimnar, you've got Gazgul Thraka, the original metal Gazgul Thraka from 2nd edition 40k is kind of like super iconic. And then in 3rd edition, 4th edition, you get these new sculpts. And Juan Diaz's sculpt of, I believe it was Juan Diaz. Juan Diaz's sculpt of the Inquisitor Codias is like it's a very memorable miniature. Same with like Brother Captain Stern doing his like force choke, his force like wave hand. So Yeah, I don't think he's a bad miniature. I think he's just slightly disappointing because he's just not as exciting as that other miniature was. Although he has all the same elements, it looks like a less interesting version of a very, very iconic miniature from yesteryear. So yeah, he's your big new miniature for this box set. And like I said, you're going to get a bunch of additional content in here for playing the army various different ways. So the only army rule this army has overall for playing not as an Imperial Agents army is the assigned agent special rule. And it means that any other Imperium keyworded army, so you could be a Space Marine army of the various different flavors, you could be a Astra Militarum army of various different flavors, can take a bunch of units based on the game size. So an incursion army can take one character and one requisitioned unit. A requisitioned unit is like a anything that's not a character. Basically, a strike force can take 2 and 2 and 1, 2 characters and 1 requisition unit, and a onslaught game can take 3 and 2. So it means that like you can actually have like a unit of Grey Knights or a unit of Deathwatch Kill Team Space Marines, right? Like you can have whatever the requisition unit is led by X or Y characters, and the idea is that like they're the bodyguard for that guy. So if that Inquisitor shows up, the bodyguard of Space Marines is with them, or the bodyguard of Cops is with them, or whoever their current security force is basically deployed with them as an attachment. They can also take a dedicated transport if they want on top of that without having that like mess with it. And then we've got our various Ordo and one, I think 2 additional ones. You got Malleus, Hereticus, and Xenos, and then you got the Imperial Fleet as a 4th way of playing the army, which is kind of cool because the fleet stuff obviously didn't really fit into that mix any particular way. But you have Rogue Trader miniatures now. Well, you've had them since actually the previous version of Kill Team, where you had the Aleutian Star Striders as like a thing. They've just got rules for them that make them more than just some character units at this point. But you don't get access to everything. So like if you're playing as an Ordo Xenos Alien Hunters army, you can take a certain number of Deathwatch units, but you can't take a Deathwatch army. A Deathwatch army is still an Astartes army with the Deathwatch keyword. It's not vice versa. It's either all Deathwatch or it's these guys a few of them are showing up as a bodyguard to an Ordo Xenos Alien Hunter. Their detachment rule is Deathwatch mission tactics. So they just get the mission tactics that the Deathwatch Kill Team has. So Fuhrer, Malleus, and Purgatus. You get precision on critical wounds for Purgatus. Malleus is going to give you lethal hits. And then the Fuhrer tactics are going to give you sustained hits 1. And you pick one during the command phase. They get a bunch of different enhancements that are all basically different Space Marine enhancements. The Universal Anathema, so it's basically just like hey, look, there's a big thing we have to kill. Big aliens, big weird alien. It gives you anti-infantry 2+ and anti-monster 4+ for melee weapons. So you've got, I like that it's just Universal Anathema. They don't call it, they don't say what it is. It's just, hey, whatever cool good thing that guy's carrying, it's designed to kill the thing we're hunting today. A Black Weave Shroud, just filling a pain 4+. A Beacon Angelus for a Watchmaster only. Model in the Bears unit have Deep Strike. In addition, you can Rapid Ingress for 0 CPs. And then Amulet of the Auto Chastisement. It's a Watchmaster only. At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, select one enemy vehicle unit, excluding Titanics, within 12 of the vehicle. That unit can take a leadership test, and if it's passed until the end of the phase, every time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. If the test has failed, they just can't shoot at all. So it's basically his, there was a name for it in the previous Deathwatch Codex, but it's basically like a hacking program that turns off some kind of weird alien vehicle. And then just like every one of these 10th edition things, you got 6 different stratagems you can use. Armor Contempt here. It's the same as Armor Contempt. Adaptive Tactics is here. Same thing. Basically allows you to switch one of your tactics. They're each 1 CP. Hellfire rounds, 1 CP. Gives you anti-infantry 2+, anti-monster 5+, and until the end of the phase. But not anything with devastating wounds. They don't get that. And then restrictions, you can't select any unit to have already been targeted by either Kraken rounds or Dragonfire rounds this phase. And so Hellfire rounds is one of the 3 different ammo types you can pick. The other 2, Dragonfire rounds are going to give you Assault and Ignore Cover, and then Kraken rounds are going to give you improve your AP by 1 and improve the range characteristic by 6 inches. Then you get Rapid Tactical Relocation as your strategic ploy. It's 1 CP. It's during the fight phase. And the target can be an Inquisitor or a Deathwatch infantry unit. All the other ones are Deathwatch infantry. Deathwatch or Deathwatch infantry. So the Hellfire rounds are Deathwatch infantry. Adaptive Tactics and Armor Contempt is just Deathwatch. And then the Inquisitor or the Deathwatch infantry unit for your army can be removed from the battlefield in the reinforcements of your next movement phase. Set them up anywhere in the battlefield, more than 9 from the enemy units horizontally. And then restrictions, you cannot select a unit that was within engagement range for this. Basically, you're getting teleported and teleported in somewhere else. So neat. But when it comes to the actual Xena stuff included in this book, And remember, you can mix and match anything. It's just, these are what's going to work on the Xeno stuff. So you can have the Cops and the Xenos together. Like, there's no restrictions for like how you mix and match these units. You've got Artemis, the Watchmaster, a Death Watch kill team, and a Corpus Blackstar, and a I think it's just a Rhino, Inquisitorial Rhino you can take as well, or Chimera, which I think is very funny. But you do get the Rhino. And no Razorback, I don't think. There's no Inquisitorial Razorback in here. No, it's just Rhino and Chimera. I think it's funny that Chimera's in here. That Chimera miniature is so friggin' old. It's a second edition miniature, which means it's 30 years old. I'm pretty sure it's little gimbal lasguns rather. So yeah, so those are really your only choices for that Deathwatch stuff. Now the kill team, it's pretty much the same as the one that currently exists. You get your bolt guns on everybody. And their unit compositions, 1 Watch Sergeant and 49 Deathwatch veterans. They've got bolt guns and power weapons. For every 5 models in the unit, 2 models can have bolt guns and power weapons, replaced with one of the following. So you can have a bolt gun and a Astartes shield, or a power weapon and a Astartes shield. So basically you can switch off. So luckily my storm shields are now like legal. They get 4+ invul from them. For every 5 models in the unit, up to 2 models can have their bolt gun and power weapon replaced with a Deathwatch Thunderhammer. So you can have the massive Thunderhammer. The Deathwatch Thunderhammer is 3 attacks, 4+, strength 10, -2, 3 wounds, and it does devastating wounds. So it's still a very cool Thunderhammer. And then for every 5 models in the unit, you can have your 1 model can have a Stalker Pattern bolt gun and close combat weapon. And for every 5 models in the unit, up to 2 models can replace their bolt gun and power weapon with a shotgun and close combat weapon. For every 5 models in the unit, 1 can have its bolt gun and power weapon replaced by a frag cannon. And for every 5 models in the unit, you can have somebody with an Infernus Heavy Bolter. And then 1 bolt gun and power weapon can be Black Shield Blades, so double Black Shield Blades. And then Watch Sergeant can have a Xenophase Blade, and Watch Sergeant's bolt gun can be replaced with a combi weapon. So, yeah, I think I've got a few illegal builds in here for my units. Like if you're looking at using your old stuff, like my Watch Captains or my Watch Sergeants, for instance, have Xenophase Blades, but they have bolt pistols and the shield, the old combat shield, which I don't think you can have at all anymore. You can have an Astartes shield at all. No, it's just Black Shield shields. So there's a few things in here you can't do anymore that like I'll just have to count as for my sergeants, but it's not really a big deal. They've just got their bolt gun and power weapon, which becomes a Xenophase Blade. That's really it. So they're weird like little combat shield and bolt pistol will just be a bolt gun. I can't do anything about that. That's fine. But you can still have 2 heavy weapons, which is neat. You can still have shotguns in there. You can still have your sergeants in there. So it's mostly still legal. And yeah, they're just, you know, whatchamacallits. They're just Firstborn Marines. So the usual 3+ armor save, 2 wounds each, objective control 2. You get your Corvus Blackstar. Blackstar launcher looks the same. Hurricane bolters are Hurricane bolters. Stormdrake missiles still strength 10, -2, 3 damage. Twin assault cannons are the same. Last cannons are the same. And it's an assigned agents for its faction. Yeah, cluster launcher is the same. You just fly over and do mortal wounds. And I didn't see any difference with Artemis or the Watchmaster either. His Vigil Spear is still basically just a Watch Spear. So strength 6 -2d3 damage. Hits on 2, 6 attacks. Shoots like a damage 2 Relic Bolter with an AP -1. The cool flamethrower on Artemis is basically the same. Hellfire Extremis. Anti-infantry 4+, devastating wounds, ignore cover and torrent. And he's still got a Mastercraft melee weapon, which is just a 2+. Yeah, it's just 2+ strength 5 -2, 2 damage. And he can be attached to a Deathwatch kill team, either of them. That's it. And if he dies, he comes back with 1 wound left on a 2+. So he still gets that. And Tactical Instincts, while this model is leading a unit, weapons equipped with models have the lethal hits ability. So you give lethal hits to all of your, you have auto wounds on rolls of 6, basically, for all your kill team members. But they can only go into kill team. So like everything's kind of coded that way. Like your Grey Knights or your Xenos or Malleus characters can only go with whatchamacallit, the Malleus units. Same with like the Inquisitorial agents. The Navy Breachers can be joined by the Rogue Trader, etc., etc. All right, so moving on from the Ordo Xenos to the Ordo Hereticus Purgation Force. This is like a light version of the Sisters of Battle. Their detachment rules Root Out Heresy. Range weapons equipped by RBDs, Inquisitor, Inquisitorial agents, and Hereticus models get an ignore cover. Each time an Adeptus Astartes, Inquisitor, Inquisitorial agent, or Ordo Hereticus model from your army makes an attack that targets a Chaos unit, you get sustained hits 1, as long as they have 5 or more models. Your idea is you're burning the heretics. You get 4 different enhancements. So your Liber Heresius, Inquisitor or Minotaurian Priest only. They're your two kind of H keys you can take in this. After both players have deployed their armies, select up to 3 agents in the Imperium units from your army and redeploy them. When you do so, you can set those up in Strategic Reserve if you wish, regardless of how many you already have in Strategic Reserve. So basically, you're just like, you're smarter than the average bear. No Escape is an aura, Inquisitor only. While an enemy unit's within 6 of the bear, each time it's selected to fall back, it must first take a leadership test. If it's failed, they must remain stationary instead. So basically, you can trap people in melee with you. Although, yeah, you don't, like, most of your units aren't gray melee units. I don't know how powerful it's going to be. Witch Hunter for a Inquisitor Priest model only. While the bear is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes the target's a psyker, you can roll the hit roll. And the Ignis Judicium for a Priest or Inquisitor. The bear's range weapons have Devastating Wounds, Melta 1, and Precision. Because you get a super cool burn gun. Because that's how the Hereticus goes. And then for your 6 different stratagems, you get stun grenades for your Arbites, Inquisitorial Agents, and Ordo Hereticus grenade units. So basically, you're equipped with like riot grenades because the idea is you're putting down uprisings. It's 1 CP. It's at the start of any phase, excluding the command phase. Select 1 enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles within 8 of the unit. The unit must immediately make a Battleshock test, and until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, it's -1 to hit. That's a pretty cool ability. Stun grenades, where you just flashbang somebody and they have to make a Battleshock test. Whew, because even units that don't normally make Battleshock tests, like have to make that roll as long as they're not vehicle or monster, right? And if you flashbang them, they just don't control objectives all of a sudden. For 1 CP, just being able to like knock something off an objective can be really powerful. And then they can't be targeted by stratagems either if they're battle shocked, which is pretty cool. Dispense Justice. I do like that there's a lot of like Judge Dredd coded terminology in here. Target, so it's in the shooting phase or your fight phase. An Arbites, Inquisitorial Agent, or Ordo Hereticus unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, they get lethal hits because you just do the thing where you talk to your gun. You say double whammy, then you shoot them. Inviolate Jurisdiction for 1 CP. It's during your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase after they select your targets. Target an Arbites, Agents, or Infantry unit that's a target the attack, and they get Feel No Pain 5+. Execution Order, this is for 2 CPs. In your command phase, you target an Arbites, Inquisitorial Agent, or Hereticus Infantry unit from your army. Select 1 enemy character unit on the battlefield until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in your unit targets that character unit, its weapons have precision abilities. You can pick out characters. And then Line of Fire. You've got your shooting phase. Targets 1 Arbites, Agents, or Hereticus unit from your army that's not been selected to shoot this turn. Until the end of the phase, models in your unit can target enemy units within engagement range with weapons that exclude blast weapons, provided that the target's within 12 inches. And then finally, Exact Punishment. When, during your opponent's shooting phase, just after an agent of the Imperium unit from your army is destroyed, you target 1 of your Arbites, Inquisitorial Agent, or Hereticus unit within 6 of the destroyed unit. You can't use the unit that was destroyed with the stratagem. And the effect is when the attacking unit's shot, your unit can shoot as if with the shooting phase. But when resolving, the attacks can only target the unit. Basically, to shoot back strat for 1 CP. And so your options for the Hereticus stuff in here, because some things are like multi-keyed. So for instance, the Subductor Squad, the Exaction Squad, and the Vigilant Squad are all agents of the Imperium. That's why they're called out separately. But for Hereticus stuff, you can have the Minotaurian Priest, because he's Ordo Hereticus specifically. You pick an Ordo for your Inquisitor, so they'll have that keyword too. And then all the Sisters stuff that's in here, because they're not Assassinorum stuff, although they're in there. The Battle Sister Squad, which you can take, because they are requisitioned. And they're the same as the key, just base Battle Sister Squad in the Sisters Codex. The Immolator, again, the same. Also has Ordo Hereticus. I think that's it. So it's really just the Battle Sisters and the Immolator. Yeah, that's the only ones that are in there. And then any of the stuff that was called earlier, like the Agents and the Cops. Because they'll join everybody. That's neat. I mean, like I said, this is more about character than good. This would be a super fun army to play inside of a crusade. A crusade's like campaign. I don't think this is designed to be a competitive codex. I'm going to be real interested to see. I'll save it for the end. Just going to be real interested to see what the MetaWatch article thinks of these guys and how they can get zhuzhed up to make them real good. And the Ordo Malleus Demon Hunters. Their detachment will destroy the demonic. Each time an Inquisitor, Inquisitorial Agents, or Ordo Malleus model from your army makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1 if the target of the attack is a demon unit, and reroll wound rolls of 1 as well. Sorry, it's always reroll 1s to hit, and if they're demon, reroll 1s to wound. And this is all the Grey Knight stuff. The only Grey Knight unit you have access to is just a Grey Knight Strike Squad. So just, it's Strike Squads only. I don't even think you get a Grandmaster. Because, like, the Grey Knights, no one's supposed to know they exist. Like, no one should see these guys. Everyone should die after you see them. I don't know if that's still in the lore, but, like, literally, if you see a Grey Knight, your entire planet is very close to being, like, just completely bombarded and destroyed. We've really rolled back the, in the last, like, 30 years, we really rolled back the price of having even heard or seen of a demon, because like, if the Ghostbusters show up on your planet in 40K, your planet's already dead. Like, they're just making sure that nothing got off the planet, and then they're going to completely virus bomb your planet. They've got their 4 different, and again, the Strike Squad is the same as the one in the Demon Hunters book, or if you've got the index cards, it's the same as that. So Formidable Resolve for an Inquisitor only, improve the bearer's leadership and wounds by 1, like that. Once per battle at the start of your phase, you can select 1 friendly battle shocked unit within 12 to not be battle shocked. That's pretty cool to be able to just have the Inquisitor be like, you're fine. And they go, oh, we're fine. Because they're more afraid of him than they are of whatever they're fighting. Demon Slayer, Inquisitor model only. Add 1 of the attacks characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons, and those weapons have anti-demon 3+. And then Grimoire of True Names, Inquisitor model only. While the enemy units within 9 of the bearer worsen the leadership characteristic of the models by 1. In addition, while an enemy demon units within 9 of the bearer, each time a model with a demon keyword makes an attack, subtract 1 from its hit roll and 1 from their wound roll. So he's got their number, man. He knows their name. He's just calling out their name. Azazel. That's a Fallen Denzel Washington reference. If you guys didn't watch Fallen, Last Cotees, it's got a really hungry Tony Soprano eating a turkey leg. I know that's why you guys come here, for the mid-90s horror movie references. Gifted the Prescient, Inquisitor model only, once per battle. If the bearer is on the battlefield, you can use the Rapid Ingress stratagem for 0 CPs. When doing so, you must target a Grand Terminator squad in your army that was used, and then we use a stratagem that you can be set up anywhere in the battlefield that's more than 3 from all enemy units. Basically, you're just like, you call them in when you need them. And of course, you don't get any Grants characters, so that's why this stuff all targets the Inquisitor. All right, our 6 different rituals we can do. The Ritual of Warding. At the start of any command phase, 1 Inquisitor, Inquisitorial Agent, or Mouse unit from your army that's within range of an objective marker that you can control. And the effect is the objective marker is said to be warded and remains under control even if you have no models in range of it until your opponent controls it at the start of any turn. While an objective marker is warded under your control, enemy demons cannot be set up in the battlefield within 6 of it. That's a really very specific but cool stratagem. And I feel like it's the kind of thing that against certain opponents obviously can just win you the game, because those late game, like, you have to take my objectives, like, you could just walk off and ward things against certain demon armies or chaos armies that are like, their whole game is to spawn in small units of stuff to grab your objectives later on. And it's like, well, they can't do it now, and they spend a whole turn basically waiting to get back on there. Rights of, it's situational, but it's just, it could be a thing that completely screws somebody's plans. Rites of Exorcism, when you're shooting your fight phase and the target has to be an Inquisitor, Inquisitorial Agent, or Ordo Malleus unit. Select an enemy demon unit within 12 invisible, and the unit must make a battle shock test. If it's failed, until the end of the phase, each time a friendly agent of the Imperium unit makes an attack that targets that demon unit, the attack has the Devastating Wounds ability. Because again, you're exorcising the demon. Being able to give just guys with Stormbolters Devastating Wounds, though, pushing against demons is pretty cool. Because you're just like, oh, you just get wounded with all of these dice if I roll 6s. And then we got Steel Heart for 1 CP. When your movement phase just after a Grey Knight's Terminator squad, a unit from your army falls back, and the target has to be them. The effect is, until the end of the turn, your unit's eligible to shoot and charge, even in a turn in which it fell back. So basically, they're Space Marines. They're just better than you, and they know how to shoot and charge when they fall back. They didn't really fall back. They decided to leave, and you couldn't stop them because they're 8 feet tall and covered in silver. Speaking of which, True Silver Armor for 1 CP. When your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy, it's selected its targets, and the target has to be a Terminator squad that was the target, and they get their AP worsened by 1. It's the usual Armor of Contempt. Hexagrammic Wards for 1 CP. When your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after an enemy unit was selected its targets, and the target, the Ordo Malleus unit from your army that was selected as the target. The effect is all psychic weapons equipped by the model have the hazardous ability. So if you shoot me with a brain laser, all your ones are going to hurt you back. Suck it, Trebek. Cybolt Ammunition for 1 CP is your last one. In your shooting phase, target some Grey Knight Terminators that haven't been selected to shoot yet, and they get lethal hits and psychic on their guns. And like I said, you got your Inquisitor. You can still take cops, right? You can still take everybody else. But if you're taking that as your detachment rule, you're going to want to have some Grey Knight Terminators. And they're just Grey Knight Terminators. They can have one heavy weapon. They can have an Ancient's Banner. One Terminator can have an Arthesium. You cannot select both of these options on the banner on the same model. So you can't stack your Arthesium and your banner on the same model. I like they call that out though with an asterisk because so many people would do that so they lose it last, which is very funny. And of course, Arthesium is in your command phase. You can turn one destroyed model to the unit. So just somebody comes back in the command phase. And the banner is added one to the OBSEC of the bearer models in the bearer's units. They become OBSEC 3. So obviously they're spendy, and you're only getting regular Grey Knight Terminators, but those Grey Knight Terminators, this is the one way that it might actually be kind of okay to do it, because I don't know what points they are, because, surprise, there's no points in this book, because we're in that era now. Oh, no, wait, there are. I'm lying. I thought we were already at the phase where they're not doing points in the book anymore, but maybe we still have points in the book. The Terminators are... They're just the very last page, and there's a link to the app. They're 240 points per unit. So for 240 points, they always get a model back every command phase. And they are still Space Marine Terminators. So, 3 wounds and a 2+ save is a legit amount of damage that they can take. And they're armed for every job because they've got, unit sweeping, Stormbolters. They've got decent melee stats, more than decent. They're Grey Knights. And they can take one pretty keen heavy weapon per squad. Probably a Psi Cannon, I would assume, is what everyone would take. Because it's still, strength 8, -1/2 damage with 3 shots. 24-inch range. But yeah, 3 wounds, 2+ saves. No joke. Hitting on 3s with basically everything. And they can have an Incinerator if they want. They get Hammerhand as their psychic ability. So they make a charge in the same turn. They get lethal hits. With their, everybody's got a psychic weapon. What's it called? Nemesis Force Weapon. So strength 6, -2/2 damage. They're pretty great. And if one or more units from your Inquisitors attack this unit, they can have, during the declare battle formation step, models in those units also have the Deep Strike ability. Because they're Terminators. So as long as you stick an Inquisitor with them, they can Deep Strike in too. All right, our last detachment, the Imperialis Fleet. This is the weirdest one. It's got 2 different detachment rules that you can pick from each command phase. Either eliminate at all costs or acquire at all costs. If you have eliminate at all cost, all your agents in the Imperium, like basically everything in your army, gets +1 to hit. If you have acquire at all costs, everything gets +1 OBSEC and 5+ invulnerable saves. That's pretty cool. While an agent of the Imperium model from your army is within range of objective marker, improve its leadership and objective control by 1. Sorry. They get braver and stickier and also have a 5+ invul. So, yeah, sure, have the fleet show up. This one weirdly might be the most popular if you spammed cops. I feel like someone will take this book and be like, and what if I took 150 cops? Because it's just the Imperium decides to call 911 and it's training day everywhere. Because the cops ain't bad. What's the cost of cops? Or Voidsman even. 6 Voidsman models are 50 points. You could get a lot of Voidsmen with 5+ invulnerable saves, and that are OBSEC 3 each, and just drown the battlefield in them maybe. How's a Voidsman looking? How bad could you make this? I'm using my Owen brain here for a second to be like, if I had unlimited money, which, in order to win, some people just seem to have, and you wanted to take Voidsman at Arms. Oh, no, wait. Is the Voidsman at Arms or is it the Voidsman? Yeah, it's Voidsman at Arms, yeah. They are... Oh, OBSEC 2, yeah, objective control 2, leadership 7s. They'd be leadership 6+, objective control 3, with 4+ saves and toughness 3, and you'd get 6 of them for 50 points. You get 300 of them. Just have them drown the battlefield. Anyway, digital weapons, agents in the Imperium model only. Each time the bearer selected to fight, roll 3d6s. For each 4+, an enemy in engagement range takes a mortal wound. Mortal wounds inflicted with this have the precision ability. It's basically just point and click your little digi-lasers. Clandestine operations, agents of the Imperium model only. At the start of the declared battle formation step, you can select one of 3 agents of the Imperium infantry units from your army, excluding Grey Knight Terminators to gain infiltrate. Of course you can't do that. Anybody else who's an infantry unit could infiltrate, but those Terminators are way too big and shiny to go do it. And then Fleet Master for Voidfarer's model only, so it has to be the Rogue Trader. Once per battle round, you can target the bearer's unit with the Violent Acquisition, Master of the Void, or Close Quarters Barrage Stratagem for 0 CPs. Basically, you can call your spaceship. And then combat landers, Voidfarers model only. At the declare battle formation steps, you can select the 3 Voidfarers models in your army, or units in your army, sorry, and they get deep strike. Basically, you fly down from the sky out of your spaceship. I like that. I like that the enhancements are all narratively reflecting the fact that the guy in charge of this army probably owns a spaceship, and that's his big key selling point, because he's just a dude. Like, other than that, like the Rogue Trader, as a character goes, he's rather unimpressive when it comes to like his fighting stats, because he's like Batman. His superpower is being rich, right? His superpower is generational wealth. At some point, he got given a writ. So he's got 4 wounds. The Rogue Trader entourage. He's got toughness 3, 4+ armor save, and 4 wounds. And literally his superpower is just being rich and maybe having digital lasers. And he can do backroom deals. If your army contains 1 or more units with this ability, during the declare battle formation step, select one of these units. While the selected units leading a unit, models in this unit have the infiltrator's ability, because he just infiltrates you in. And then Warrant of Trade. If your army includes 1 or more units with this ability, after both players have deployed their armies, D3 Imperium battle line units from your army and redeploy them. When doing so, you can set these units up in strategic reserve, regardless of how many have already arrived, because he's got a spaceship. He owns his own spaceship. All right, so then it's your 6 different, your 6 different strats. Violent Acquisition is the first one for 2 CPs. It's during your shooting phase or fight phase, and agents in the Imperium unit from your army has to be targeted. And the effect is until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your army or unit makes a model in your unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit within range of the objective. The attack has sustain hits 1, lance, and ignore cover. So basically, you pick something contesting an objective, and you get a bunch of bonuses against it. Master the Void for 1 CP. In your movement phase, 1 Voidfarer's character unit from your army has to be the target. Until the end of the phase, each agent of the Imperium unit from your army that is arriving from strategic reserve this turn can be set up within your opponent's deployment zone. All other restrictions still apply. So for 1 CP, you can show up in their deployment because you own a spaceship. Like I said, all of these superpowers are about being rich. To be fair, most of the people who have superpowers on our planet right now, it's because they're rich. Close Quarters Barrage, when your shooting phase, once again, owns a spaceship. 1 Voidfarer's unit from your army is the target, and the effect is until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit makes a range attack that targets a unit within 12 inches. Improve the strength and AP of it by 1, because you just call in fire from the sky. And then the Emperor's Will. Generational wealth as your superpower for 1 CP, your movement phase. 1 agency Imperium from army is the target until the end of the phase. Your unit's eligible to shoot in a turn in which it advanced or fell back. I don't know why your Emperor's Will does that. Maybe you just feel so cool about having this piece of paper that gave you your writ of trade. For 1 CP, you can have a Displacer Field as a War Gear stratagem. When your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit selected its targets, 1 Agents of the Imperium character, excluding Officio Assassinorum characters. Remember, you can have all the assassins in this too. That was selected as the target of an attack. And the effect is until the end of the phase. Models in your unit have a 4+ invulnerable save. After the attacking units resolve its attacks, unless units within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, it can make a normal move up to 6 inches. And units, when doing so, you have the fly keyword. So you just bamf away like Nightcrawler. And then finally, Selfless Bodyguard, when your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase after they select a target, and the target's an Agents of the Imperium attached unit that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacks, so it's a character basically. And the effect is until the end of the phase, each time an attack with the precision rules allocated to the character unit on a 2+, it goes to the bodyguard instead. So basically, they throw themselves in front of the guns. So yeah, it's neat. It's the one I think you take if you want to take just a bit of everything, right? Because that's the idea, is like someone's Ubered over to this planet that's infested by some kind of chaos, and they brought all of the guys, right? The Inquisitors have been like, your spaceship's my spaceship now, let's go. And they're heading over to, Heretic Planet A to serve out some justice. It's probably the best mixed one because like the feature units are fine. Like the Navy Breachers are incredibly cool miniatures, but they're just Navy Breachers. Same with the Voidsmen. They just got shotguns. You know what I mean? Like they're dudes whose job is to try and not blow up the spaceship while they're fighting on it. So they're not exactly armed with the best like battlefield munitions they could possibly be fighting with. So it's worth talking in the end. These guys don't have a detachment, but really this is what you're going to use that assigned agents army rule for, to even an incursion army be able to take 2 characters in one of the other units, because the other units are things like the requisition unit would be the Terminators. It means you can use a Granite Terminator squad in any Imperium army now. The Subductor Squad is not requisitioned, actually. It's a retinue unit, which means they can be joined by the Inquisitor. I think what this is really allowing you to do, it's allowing you to take, because characters is anybody, right? So you can take any of the character models plus the assassins, because they're all characters too. Requisitioned is going to be the Grey Knights. I believe the Death Watch as well have requisitioned. They don't. The Death Watch kill team does not have requisitioned. Interesting. So they don't have requisition. All the assassins are eligible. The Sisters of Battle Squad is requisitioned. And that feels kind of like an oversight. I feel like the Death Watch should have been requisitioned too. So it's really just the Strike Squad, the Sisters Squad, not the Breachers either. That can be taken through the Army Special Rule. But then they can be sort of bamfed into stuff. Nope, none of the Vigilant Squads either. Interesting. So, yeah, requisitioned is just one requisition and one character unit incursion. So it's 2 in 1. So you could take a Grey Knight Strike Squad and you could take a Sisters of Battle Squad in any army now. But not an Ordo Xenos Death Watch kill team, which I find very interesting. I think that's probably going to end up being a typo. Because it feels like the intent was... Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a typo. I feel like the intent was that all 3 of these like core units could be used as like a cool splash into another army. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up being eligible to be that requisition squad. Because as of right now, it's just the Strike Squad and the Sister Squad, and it feels weird the other one's not there. I would bet that the Voidsman maybe, or the Breacher Squad is allowed to be requisitioned as well as like a bodyguard. But yeah, so let's talk about the assassins for a second, because they are obviously a key feature here. The Everzer Assassin, the Calyxus, the Kalidas, and the Vindicare. And they're all pretty much the same. You're going to get the Everzer Assassin in the Combat Patrol box too. So he's going to be a little bit more common, I think, seeing out there. And this is the way that you'll get these epic heroes to show up. They all have the epic hero keywords. You can't give them any extra gear. So obviously you can't give them any enhancements and stuff like that. The idea being that they are armed with what they're armed with and they don't get anything else. But if your army faction is adopted as agents of the Imperium, then during the declare battle formation step, you can replace this model with a different officio assassin arm model. So the Kalidas can basically be a different person, providing the total points value of the new model does not exceed the points value of the model replaced. Your army cannot include duplicates of the same model. Your army cannot have more than one Vindicare assassin. It can have more than one Calyxus assassin. It cannot have more than one Kalidas assassin. So basically, you pick an assassin, and then you can trade it to be a different assassin because it's got shadow assignment. And this, I think, is the coolest new rule. And I'm pretty sure they've made the assassins all the same point value now, so that you can just trade it for whatever you want. It is 105 for a Vindicare, 125 for an Everzer, 125 for a Calyxus, and 125 for a Kalidas. So you can always drop down to a Vindicare, I guess. And the other 3 are all the same. But you couldn't take the Vindicare and then push up to the other ones. So I really like that. They can never be your warlord, but they can be swapped out at will during declare battle formation. So whatever the assassin is that you need for the job, you can swap them around. I thought that was just an interesting thing worth calling out. And then they've all got their usual sort of like stuff. The Shieldbreaker rounds for the Vindicare, Deadshot for being able to ignore lone operative, Reign of Confusion for increasing the CP cost once per battle. Yeah, so still all worth using, but I thought that was the Shadow Assignment rule I thought was really cool, where you could just like trade off one for another. So as long as you're paying 125 for one of them, any of the other ones can show up. But if you want to pay the 105 for the Vindicare, because he's just not quite as good, I guess, or not as all around good. I don't know why they didn't just give him something extra and make him 125. Just seems weird to not have them all be the same price. And that's it. So, I guess it's worth talking quickly about the Shadow Operations, which is the new Crusade rules that are in here. They're exactly what they sound like. You're going in to infiltrate threat level of and investigate like a threat on a planet. And the idea is that you're gonna continuously find bits and pieces, and the unrest of the planet that you're fighting on will grow. This is a really cool narrative one. The higher your the higher your sort of like threat level, the crazier things start to get. And it has a beautifully renditioned tracker for all of this stuff. It feels, the idea behind this set is it feels as though you're playing through like a Dan Abnett novel, and your agendas are going to get more aggressive as you go forward, and you start to uncover like the plot that you're following. So no matter what the game, because in Crusade you're starting at 1,000 points. No matter what the game size, the idea is that you're trying to escalate by bringing in more and more stuff. And so it kind of uses the Crusade rules to represent the growing of the threat over the course of your campaign, as your Inquisitor basically uncovers plots, and then you find cool relics, cool things that you pull in order to try and make the story go crazier. And then you get bonuses for each of the different types of like characters. So like the Malleus Inquisitor gets one, the Hereticus Inquisitor gets a different one. It's like you get puppets for the Hereticus one, where like the enemy may appear to be loyal Imperium warriors, but a true heretical witch has incredible powers of manipulating them through psychic compulsion. Your Inquisitor must give them the Emperor's mercy. So like you have weird perilous paths you can go on. The Rogue Trader gets like the backgrounds and stuff like that. So these are like your sort of like stories that you have for each of your characters, and then you get cool badges and stuff that you can earn, of course, over the course of the campaign. Put in some lovely Adrian Smith art in the back there, and like a nice double page spread. And yeah, and that's it. That's our rendition of this codex. Oh, I guess the last thing we should probably talk about real fast is Comp Patrol and what comes in there. It does have its own section in here. You get a preacher model lead the army. It's Preacher Tegwin, which is the eviscerator acolyte from the Blackstone Fortress Warhammer Quest box. And then you get Eviscer Assassin, like I said before. You get 2 Vigilant squads of 11 models each. This is a 20, almost 30 model box, which I think is really cool. So you get two units of cops, and then Inquisitorial Agents, 6 model box set, which is again the Kill Team box. So this is a great like baseline, because the idea behind I think this Inquisitor's Hand Comp Patrol is you don't have to play a specific Ordo for this to be useful, because everyone uses the cops. Everyone could use like a preacher, everyone can use the agents, and everyone can use an assassin. So a nice and very easy to paint, because everyone's wearing black. Everyone's in like black armor or black jumpsuits or whatever. A nice collection of models is like a baseline thing. So I think it's smart and it's well curated. You're going to get some specific rules for Preacher Tegwin, but other than that, it's basically just a light version of each of the special rules. So like a light version of the Eviscer, a light version of the Inquisitorial Agents, because they're predetermined. And then the Vigilant Squad from the box. And it's a decent amount of miniatures, like almost 30 models in a Comp Patrol. I think is pretty cool. I have big high hopes for Comp Patrol for the future. I really want it to be something like what we're seeing right now with Spearheads in AOS. So I'm excited for new ones to come out, because I'm just hoping that they start to, over 10th edition, make them a little more standardized as to what you're getting in them, so that 11th edition you can do a version of Spearhead that is awesome and uses these box sets, and they phase out the ones that don't fit and include ones that are cool. So there it is. Codex Imperial Agents. So what do I think about this Codex? Well, like I said earlier, I'm excited to see the meta watch on this, because I think this is going to be a very fun narrative army to play. That is, it is not necessarily, there's no big power unit. There's no Shadow Sword. There's no Stampa. There's no Greater Demons. There's no Marnius Calgars. There's no, Marnius Calgar, I should be saying, Robert Gilman's. There's no like good thing, right? There's no big superstar power unit that people are going to take. There's no knights. There's no nothing like that. That is like the core base of this army. So if you play this as a codex by itself, I'll be real interested to see what the 55% win rate looks like without somebody buying, like I said, 400 Voidsmen and having them take at all costs every turn and just drown the board in wounds that you can't stop. So it's going to be an interesting book, but I'm really excited, because this seems like a book designed with having your army feel like the universe it's set in, and be fun to build and paint, and have rules that are evocative of the thing that they are in that universe, right? So they feel like cops, or they feel like their superpower is having a spaceship. That is a big change for 40K design. This does not seem to be like a cynical gaming aid. This feels like a fun for storybook. So Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens with this one, because I think that a lot of 40k players are going to look at it and say it sucks, because it's like, but what does it even do? Right? Like, it doesn't have any big superpowered piece in it. And I'm sure some people will find some compelling ways to play it, but I don't think it's going to stand up necessarily to the crazy, wombo combo power builds that are existing in 40k right now. That 55% win rate, like, is supposed to be the end all be all goal. Like, I don't know how that's gonna go, or they just don't show up at all at events. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. But I personally am really excited about this codex because of the design shift that it represents inside of Warhammer 40,000. I think that cool boxes of cool miniatures and rules that reflect the weird dystopian, satire of Warhammer 40,000 is a way cooler thing than just another cynical sort of like army box. So I'm here for it. And I'm excited to see what the next few months after it gets released, have the reception sort of be. So anyway, there it is. Codex Imperial Agents. Big thanks for watching. Big thanks to Workshop sending this along to review. Thanks, Mash. Have a great night.